Just 5 o'clock now. We're going to get started. Respect for your time. We'll get going right on the dot here. I see our panelists have joined and are all ready. So since I'm not the star of this show, I will kick it over to Dr. Sahin.
Thank you. And welcome everyone. And thank you for being here. And today we're going to talk about fastIEP and how to save you time and make the process of doing what we do and educating our best and most deserving and then generating reports for them easier. So fastIEP is a tool that's invented and optimized for you, special educators, from scratch. And I think it's really groundbreaking. Now, I'm biased, I invented it, but you'll be hearing from others and you'll get to see yourself what it is, what's about, and how it can help you. I've put all I could together from my knowledge as a neuroscientist and my work with and as educators and experience alongside so many earnest people trying to help out people who are helping those who have different kinds of minds thrive. So I'm excited to share that with you, and I hope that each of you feels an excitement and is getting ready and excited to find out more about this. So before we go further, I want to thank you for your service out there on the front lines. And I know it's difficult, and especially in recent times. And the students need you, and the system needs you. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of burden, and we're trying to take some of that off your plate and make it automated and simple and easy so that you can do what you do in terms of educating even more fluidly and with less burden. So my commitment and my background is all focused on people whose brains are different in ways that somewhat keep them at bay from the great things that we enjoy in daily life of integration and social integration. And I know that's a shared commitment with educators like yourself. So again, we're hoping to help facilitate that. Great. So now I would like to thank our wonderful partner, NASET, the National Association for Special Education Teachers. And as many of you know, the National Association for Special Education Teachers, NASET, is the largest organization of special educators in the country, and is the only national organization dedicated purely to teachers of special education. We've been a partner of NASET for a long time now, and I think this is primarily because the mission of fastIEP and the mission of NASET are very similar and aligned and resonant to support teachers of special education and make your lives and jobs easier, more fluid, and more focused on the best outcomes for the kiddos and the best for yourself. That's why we're super eager to announce an even closer collaboration with NASET this spring, which Richard will be going to talk about a little bit. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Richard Scott, the Chief Operating Officer of NASET.
Thank you, Dr. Sahin. And I'd like to thank you for applying your expertise as a neuroscientist to invent and create something specifically to help special education teachers. You know, so few inventors focus on us, so it's really appreciated. Many of you in the audience probably heard about our announcement last April, but for those who haven't, we're excited to say that we are endorsing and have endorsed fastIEP. This is the first time we've ever endorsed a product, but we were really blown away with how much and how easier it makes the lives for special education teachers. We've also supplied to fastIEP the NASET database of goals, and soon you'll be able to choose goals from that database which are collected from thousands of teachers just like you. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Sahin, who's going to show us all how fastIEP will can save you hundreds of hours each year in progress monitoring and reporting. Dr. Sahin.
Thank you so much. And wow, it's really exciting to see this audience. We can't see each of you, but we see the statistics and who signed up. So, wow, we have a total of 306 teachers who have signed up for today's webinar, coming from 41 states. That's amazing. It's impressive. And one person from as far away as North Mariana Islands. Remind me to visit sometime. Sounds better than right here. I think we're all here for the same reason. IEP paperwork is a nightmare, and there must be a better way. So you'd like to spend more time teaching, less time taking notes and drawing charts and writing reports. And that's actually why about 10,000 teachers across the country have signed up for fastIEP. And I'll also say that teachers from 20 other countries have signed up. We didn't expect that. That's just happened organically. And we listen to everything that you say and tell us. I think that's a very important thing. We're very, very interactive, and many of you have written to us asking for specific features. And I'll just point out that we listen, and many of the best and newest features came directly from requests from educators like you. So keep that up. It's great. Yeah, and I'm really excited to talk about it more. Now, Jim, do we have a video at this point, or is that a little bit later?
Yeah. We put together some testimonials from teachers who've already started using fastIEP. So I will jump into that.
What is fastIEP?
My goal was to make the teachers' lives easier. And that's non-trivial, so we talked to thousands of teachers and found their pain points. Too many reports, hard to get the data into the system in the first place. I don't know how to make these nice graphs that I need. By the way, I barely have time ever to go home to my own kids. How do I communicate this to parents and so forth? Each one of those pain points, and there are more, we address directly in the software. This is software. It's also a philosophy and the neuroscience underneath it. But at the core, we make it extremely easy with a single click to record a data event. Every goal can be turned into a yes/no question through our rubric for event-by-event data logging. And when the teacher clicks that button, big shiny button, everything else goes with it. The time, the date, the classroom, the student, their name, etc. You don't need to write that stuff down. You just write down whether the person performed that task. Easy, single button. Now that data point joins the rest of the data points in an ongoing chart. So you flip over to the charts, you see exactly what's going on, updated to the moment. You want to clip out a sentence that summarizes the progress, send that to the parent. That's updated in the moment. The computer does the algorithmic work. It makes the charts. It does all the calculation for you. What you do, or what the teacher does out there on the front lines, while kids are escalating, while it's noisy, while everything's going on, single button click. And then when they want to send a report home, click for a PDF that gives you pages and pages and pages of nicely formatted data and charts, so that other part about, gosh, calculating everything, grabbing the pieces of paper, entering into a spreadsheet at the end of the quarter, you don't have to do that. It's done for you. You can do your work as an educator.
Excellent. Yeah, so actually next we have the results of that poll. I will display them, and Dr. Sahin, maybe you can walk us through them. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the poll as people were joining. In case you joined late, you may not have seen it, but this poll was up for all the attendees. Wow, okay. So question is, how do you currently record IEP progress? and then also for each IEP goal, how often do you record the data? So this is really striking. Half of you apparently record data on paper initially, and then about another quarter on a spreadsheet. So there's less than a quarter, about a quarter of you who do something else, including about a fifth who do actually use software initially to get data into the system. So, well, 4/5 of you don't. It's either paper or a spreadsheet initially, and then you have to usually retype and or put those data into another system and manually make some kinds of graphs or reports, all of which get done automatically. You'll find out in fastIEP. So, and sometimes people do, someone just said into the chart, I do all three. Now that could mean two different things, but I know for at least some people, it means I record data somehow during the classroom. Things are going crazy. Someone's biting me, someone's yelling. It's really hard. So I write something down on a Post-it note, and then I later have to type into a spreadsheet. And then later, after analyzing the data a little bit, put things into a district-wide piece of software. I don't know if that's what that person meant in the chat, but that happens to many, many educators. So you're tripling your work. That's hard. We're trying to avoid that for you. All right, so what else? And then how often do you record progress data? And there's a large split here, but many say when the reports are due. You know, it's you do the best you can to remember progress, but then hold it to when the reports are due. Some say, about a quarter say in real time as it happens. And so many are saying at the end of 1 week or 2 weeks, or again, maybe 9 weeks. And I know there's just never enough time. There's just never enough time to do all this. So we have to delay and put the data down when we possibly can. But if it were a single click, if the reports are being generated basically for you, then maybe you could do this in real time. And in real time is when we don't have to remember how it went. We see, we observe, we record, document, document, document. And then you have the documentation. You can fall back on the documentation. If anything goes sideways, you have the documentation. But more importantly, you get to see how your students are doing in real time. So let's talk about seeing this. And should we just look at the software? Jim, I'll just switch over then to that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's next on the lineup, the actual product demo.
Well, that's wonderful. Let's take a look. Share.
And for those of you asking in the chat, we'll be sending the poll results out to everybody in an email, as well as a link to the video of this recording, probably tomorrow.
Absolutely. And we can add on to that poll results from other webinars. And I think we're starting to aggregate these data so that we have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of educators. So you can see how your colleagues respond to those questions and what the average data are. So here we're seeing fastIEP. One thing you might notice is it's colorful. It's kind of fun, right? And you'll see there's a lot to look at right away, but you'll notice over time that it is actually very simple. Some of the software you might use, like Goldberg or something else, just for entering things, and not for this part, data collection. It is boring. It's drop-down menus. It's cumbersome. I have to remember where things are and what they do. fastIEP is designed to be actually usable in a classroom or immediately afterward, and very intuitive, very colorful. And the colors aren't just nothing. They derive from visual psychology. There's something to, and I've designed, based on my own knowledge of psychology, the color schemes so that it will help you remember which goal for which student and which ones need your attention. But let's take a look even closer. As I scroll through here, each goal is a tile, and each tile is a goal. These are not locked in a binder somewhere. These are not on paper. These are right there in front of you, big and bulbous and shiny and colorful. Each goal tile has a lot of information on it that you'll get used to seeing at a glance. Let's take a little tour of a tile. So here's like emotions and self. First of all, you see this emblem at the top here and this word is completed. This goal is done happily. Our student has completed that goal. These other ones without that, these are not yet completed. And in fact, I see a red thing up in the upper left. That's telling me that I haven't logged that goal yet this observation period. Let's go down to math reasoning. You see there's a lot of behavioral goals here, but also academic. fastIEP applies to all of your goals, all grade levels, all goals. Because it is a platform, you enter the goal kernel, the actual goal for that student, and this does the calculations for you. So let's look at math reasoning. We see that we're currently performing at a 50%. This progress indicator on the right is 50%. And that's, what does that correspond to? Now, in the goal, if you can read that on the screen, it says you're supposed to perform at an 80% accuracy threshold. And we have to do that over 3 out of 4 observations. Sounds familiar, right? Many goals are of that kind. This keeps track of how we're doing according to those thresholds and the observation periods. If I click, I get a yes/no question. All your goals can be turned into a yes/no question. Sometimes it takes a little bit of formatting or thinking, but it's, in the end, did the student perform that academic task or behavioral task at that moment? So I say yes, and we went up from 50% to 57%, because apparently there have been a few yeses and a few nos over time. And now I'll do yes again. And I'm going to click done here and go up now to 62%. If I wanted to find out about, so I just logged some data. That was 1 click each time. Do I find out how the student is doing at the end of a month or after I do a lot of calculations in a spreadsheet? No. Well, first of all, I've said I have that progress indicator right there. I'm at 62%. If I want to see how the progress has gone over time, I click a single button. I get these little mini graphs for each and every goal. I can just glance around the goals and I know how the student is doing and where I should focus my energy. There's the goals I haven't tracked yet, like this one in the upper right. And there are goals where, student is struggling a little bit. Now, if I want to get even more data, I switch over to data and charts. These are graphs that probably many of you don't get time to include in your IEP reports. These are being generated in real time. The events that I just added are already in the graph. The event transcript down here shows them. We had those math reasoning, there's the 2 yeses. There they are. Those are those specific events, and those are accumulated towards this chart. If I go back here, let's add some more data to the system. Toileting, let's say no. And let's add a little note. See this button here, I can now add a text note. Let's write this in. Hello, webinar attendees. All right, and then I can even add more. Normally I can add a photo or a video. Right now, my webcam is being used for this, so I can't. That works on any device. By the way, fastIEP works on tablets, on Chromebooks, on laptops, on desktops. It works on any computer in which you can run a web browser. That's very useful, and it will find the camera for annotations of this kind. By the way, it'll only let you do that if you've consented for that student, if the parent has consented. Anyway, so I'm done now. That event is now part of the data stream. And I go over there again, and I look at my events. And there it is. And I have a note, hello webinar attendees. It's all real time. It's always there. You need to write some kind of annotation or record a video of yourself talking to your future self about an event or a student, or record a special event. The student really succeeded. You want to tell mom, there it is. So everything is always contained right here. All right. Again, these are the goals. Now I switch over to a different student. I'm going to see different goals, different colors per position helps me remind and remember who's doing what, who needs to work on what. Now we saw the data and charts, really real-time overviews. This top one, I can get a summary. How is he doing? In this case, she doing overall. But now I want to send this somewhere. I want to include this in my scheduled report. I just press this one button up here that says save or print, and I'll get a PDF. Click that, and now that's creating a PDF in the background. I'm going to get that downloaded, and that's going to get emailed to me. It's that simple. All of those nice charts that might take so long to make, you get that as a PDF. And that just gets done on the server and sent to you, and that's nice and easy. Jim, let me know if there's some specific questions that are coming in related to what I'm showing. And
sure. Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, there's been a lot of interest in first just how the goals are entered and created. And I'll address the question of can we import them from other systems, but for now, let's look at if you were to type them directly in, how that would work. And with a specific focus on, some people have goals that are measured in percentages. How do you put that into our platform?
Absolutely. All right, so there's this button here that says add, edit, or delete goals. And also the last tile will always be the same thing, add, edit, or delete goals. There's two ways to get there. I click that, I get to this screen. Remember we saw goals that are colorful. Here they are again, but they're wide. Now this is a little reminder telling me, because I'm in the middle of a year with this student, that if I'm going to be editing the goals, I need team consent, of course. But we have little reminders like that throughout the software. It's kind of helpful sometimes for newer teachers, and we never want to leave anything vague. So there's always a lot of little clear reminders. You can ignore them once you understand them. Now our goals that we saw there, same color scheme here, but these are now editable, and I could change goals or add new ones. I can also move them around so they can change in sequence. That'll change the color scheme, again, to keep that psychological mnemonic color scheme. Okay, but what am I looking at here? Let me go to the bottom. So I'm looking at a fresh blank goal entry screen. If I want to write in a new goal, let's go to math and money. And so now that's that category. I get a little icon for that. And Maya will make exact transactions with fewer than 3 prompts. Okay, so now that's called the goal kernel. That's the core thing that the student needs to do. All of your goals contain one of those, and that's separate from the criteria. We separate them here because the criteria will be calculated by the computer. That's what makes it so easy. So the goal kernel is just the core. And then I choose, let's say it's X%. So 80%, it could be with 80% accuracy, or 80% of the time, 80% of items, intervals, classes, opportunities. There are different ways of writing a goal. This should accommodate essentially every goal that's out there. And then I can say X out of Y. These are the observation periods. You can't just do it once. I make exact change once, that's great, but I need to be repeatable. So I might say during 4 out of 5 days, weeks, or months, or episodes, occasions, observations, right? Those are different kinds of things. If it's a time-based one, like a week, it's going to automatically get to the end of the week, calculate, did you meet the threshold, and advance you accordingly. Right. So that's a goal right there. You see, I have the core of it, and I have the 2 types of criteria, the threshold and the observation periods. Now, this one doesn't have to be 80%. This itself could be, for instance, 3 out of 4 chances, items, whatever it is. And that will conform to how your goal is written. Okay, so I'm ready for that. I save progress and exit. That just added that goal. That's right down here, money. And you see the 3 out of 4 chances, 4 out of 5 observations, and there's the goal kernel, and I'm ready to go. Start answering those questions and logging data. I'm done. Now, that's adding one goal at a time. You saw on that screen, first of all, we can add many, and in the beginning of a year or after the annual review date, you can just go ahead and if you have your goals in any other kind of digital format, you copy and paste in the goal kernels. That takes a few seconds to copy and paste. You're only doing it once a year, and then you choose the criteria. We also make it possible when you're part of a district installation of fastIEP to pull your data from Frontline or some other system where you may have all the goals. And then it's even easier. It all just gets imported. But trust me, just copying and pasting into this form is quite easy as well. So that's how you get all your goals in there. And this actually kind of guides that SMART format, the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based, SMART. This will naturally guide you towards that. And let me tell you about something coming soon. There's going to be a little button here that says access the NASET goals database. And that's because of our wonderful partnership with Richard and his team. And so when you click that, you're going to get a list of thousands and thousands of goal kernels. And in fact, you won't have to look at all thousands. It'll be dialed down to the category that you already chose. And it doesn't write the whole goal for you. It gives you that kernel, and you just customize it for that student to get to the right threshold and the current present level. So there's one more exciting thing on this screen. I don't know if you can see in this upper left, it says enable objectives and benchmarks. So show of hands, how many people have goals that have objectives or benchmarks? I mean, you can't actually do a show of hands now, but I know it's a lot. Many states require it, at least 2 objectives, and federally, nationally, since 2004, any student who's on alternate assessments, of course, requires objectives. So we've built that in. When I enable that, then each goal tile here has this ability to add objectives. And let's go down here. I can choose how many I want to add off the bat. So let's add 2, not 20, 2. Okay, so then I have 2 objectives. Each objective tile looks just like that goal tile we saw before, because that's how objectives are. They're essentially the same with criteria, but now the master goal itself looks a little different because it's just going to be an overall goal kernel, and the criteria are all contained below in the objectives. Does that make sense? I know we're just going over this now for the first time, but you're going to put in your objectives there, and that becomes part of the master goal. The master goal will complete when you've completed both objectives. Great. So that's a feature that has been requested by many people. You'll also notice down here there's a little time thing. So it defaults to the annual review date, but you can put a different time. And that's going to be more important for benchmarks. In most cases, benchmarks segment the year into a series of maybe 4 steps, and objectives segment the goal into a series of 2 or 4 parallel tasks. You can work on them in parallel for the most part, and benchmarks are for the most part serial. And this date picker allows you to do either one. Right. I wish I could hear the excitement out there because I know it's out there.
Chat is
Great.
blowing.
What's that?
The chat is blowing up.
Oh, great, great, great. Well, there's some other things here. How are we on time, Jim?
Well, we just completed half an hour, so we've got a half an hour to go. And we did want to leave an open session for all the different questions that we received, and as well as allow people to actually click the raise hand button if you want to ask a question directly, and we'll pass you the virtual microphone and you can do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely. Okay, well, a couple of things that come up also I wanted to mention, many paraprofessionals are probably out there listening with this group, and many special education teachers who have the benefit of working together with paraprofessionals are probably out there. And we've heard a lot about that. And so we've built in functionality where you can share your account with a para. If you're the teacher, or as a para, you can get access to this system and work alongside your teacher and enter data. Now, the para or anyone else using that para login will see the same students and goals and be able to add data. But because the one special education teacher is the one who is kind of on the line and on the hook for making sure those goals get reported and are legally true to the IEP, we have one person who's primarily responsible. So the special education teacher who's primarily responsible for that student is the only one who could delete a goal or add a new goal or change a goal in the middle of a year. So it's sometimes useful to have one person who's primarily responsible. So a para will log in and can't delete a goal, but can, of course, add data and really share the load, share the burden. And that's how we work together as teams. And coming soon, you can even share with other types of professionals, including OTs, SLPs, BCBAs, and others, and have different levels of shared permissions over the students. So that should help people really, again, share the burden and make life a lot easier. There's a little thing down here called Students Day. This is something I've just borrowed from some of my kind of cognitive psychology and whatnot, and also just the reality. So I can say, student, it was a pretty good day, or an amazing day, or kind of a bad day, or just one of those horrible, awful, rotten days. Why is that important? Well, you may see every once in a while data just kind of deflect. It's really bad, and that's that day. Who's to know? How are we going to understand that? Well, I can add a note as to why I think. Maybe it's that every second Friday when some students are going to be acting up a little bit. Maybe it's just before vacation or just upon returning from vacation. And maybe there was a fire drill, really loud, disruptive during the winter, and the zone's a lot of snow, and we all had to traipse out into the snow. Who knows? If you don't get to record that, then no one's going to understand later why the data show some kind of deflection. So kind of added that in there for that. And when you do that, then any data points from that day get stamped with that designation. So here are all data points we just recorded during this webinar, and they have that bad day there, even retroactively, as long as it's within the same calendar day. But I don't want to stare at all those red faces, so let's make it a good day. And now it's going to recompute, and those are all a good day. You can change that on the same day. After that, it's stamped in and part of the audit trail. All right, great. So I think those are some of the things I wanted to show. Jim, before we take open-ended questions, I wanted to just talk about how to get signed up. Hopefully you're excited. If you're still listening by now, I assume you are. So let's share this little item here. People ask, how do I do it? How do I sign up? And how much does it cost? And we've priced this, what we think is really, really low. and approachable, less than a lot of things people just put on set and forget on a monthly basis. And I hope you feel that way. And this is also something you can get reimbursed from your school. So it's $8 a month. And in fact, that would be $96 a year, but we give you the summer free, essentially. So if you sign up for a year, you get 2 months free. So it's $80. And that includes everything. That's not for one student, that's for all your students. And yeah, it's open-ended. You own access. You'll have your data forever. You can generate reports forever. And that's, I think, a nice approachable cost, because our mission is to help teachers, not to help ourselves. The way to get, so you get a free trial when you start this. You don't have to put in your credit card or anything, just you get the real thing. You can use it as much as you want for 30 days. We actually extended it to 45 days for NASET members, but the way to do that is to do it now. So if I could trouble as many of you as have access to a computer right now, meaning if you're not watching this webinar on your phone, if we just take 5 minutes right now to go to this URL. Jim, can you throw it into chat as well? It's very easy. It's fastIEP, which is us, /NASET. So fastiep.com/NASET. So I'll just keep talking. You can hear me. You can switch over to a window on your computer where you have a web browser and just go there right now. That'll get you to the sign up page. And the sign up page is easy. It's just your name and email address, and that will generate your account. That account, if you generate that now, has that free 45 days. You don't have to enter your credit card. You can throw this away afterward. You can say it's not worth anything. But if you like it and start getting your caseload into there, then this is what it is. And you'll have functionality that keeps expanding, and you'll have that forever at that $80 a year level. So I hope I can virtually hear the sound of people typing that in. And like I say, it's totally optional. There's no commitment now, but really, really believe that it's exciting and will save you a lot of time.
Yeah,
all right.
A question about, some people were a little concerned. They're still on summer vacation, so they didn't want it to wait until the first day of school, so they get that full 45 days after that. And I just wanted to let everyone know, go ahead and sign up now. Just put the start date of your school here in chat, and we will just extend your trial. So we'll give you 45 days starting with that start date, but you can start now. So just let us know. Yeah, if you missed that, we'll be emailing that to everybody. If you aren't able to put it into chat right now, you can email it to our support, which is support@fastiep.com. But I see people are putting it in the chat now, and we have a record of that, so that's not a problem. We'll take care of all of that. And a nice segue here as well, because Dr. Sahin, some questions were, well, is it possible that my district might be able to buy this?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be on the forefront and want to be one of the ambassadors for fastIEP, I think we have a poll question about that. So we're going to ask, would you like to be a fastIEP ambassador? And one of the things that you'll get is early access to the new features. Like, for instance, we just released the fully elaborated benchmarks and objectives capability. Many people were asking for that. So they would have, as an ambassador, you might have something before everyone else gets it. And then one of the things we ask is, if you really like this, tell others in your district. And we found great success where when a few teachers start really liking something that is so central and important to the job of a special educator as documenting progress, the districts snap it up. And so the districts will take it up, but they want to know that you'll actually use it, because as much as you might think to the contrary, administrators in the central office are afraid of adding one new initiative that all the teachers have to do, but they might not like, right? Imagine if they told you what the new software was for IEPs, but it was terrible. You have to use it. So they want to know that you like it. So if you join the ambassadors program and you tell your district about it, good likelihood they'll get it. And if that's the case, we'll reimburse you anything you spent on this. Your district might as well. We don't need to know. And yeah, but you'll get access to things early on before others. So there's that, but it's a jump in, join now, show that it works with your caseload, and that's going to be really compelling to your district officers. They want things to work out for you. I know not everyone always feels that way, and everyone's got Mondays someday, but yeah, it would be really great if you get in there, show that this works for your caseload and ultimately benefits the kiddos. If you see their progress, you know who's doing well, you know whom you need to intervene with, and you know before there's an issue. And that keeps the parents happy too, because if you can kind of warn a parent something good or something not so good is coming down the pike, they don't show up 1 year later, get surprised, get indignant, get kind of embarrassed, and then yell at you, right? Because they'll be seeing the data along the way.
Great. Yeah, so lots of people put in those start dates in there. Thank you so much. Feel free to go ahead and sign up now, and before the end of the day tomorrow, you'll see that your trial date has been extended to 45 days beyond that school start date that you put in the chat. One other question that has come up here and there, and that has to do with privacy and compliance with both the state level privacy laws as well as the federal level FERPA. And obviously, two components to these privacy laws are, what kind of data do we collect? Are we collecting personally identifiable information? And secondly, how are we handling it? Are we selling it to anybody or providing it to any third parties? Are we using it for marketing and sales to students or to teachers? So Dr. Seen, I thought a good chance everyone has that question. So figured let's address it here.
Thank you. Well, you're safe with us and your data are safe with us. We've signed the several policies, blanket policies that are like student data privacy agreements with different states. And that indicates we have all our ducks in a row. And that comes from our technical work, that we keep our data encrypted on the server, and from how we interact with data ourselves. No, we're not selling data. We're not marketing to students. Students don't even log into this system. And actually, we don't even take much data. We generate data. Now, the data that come across are just the student's name and the IEP goals. So after that, you generate data on their progress, and you can push that back to another system, or you send it out as a PDF to the parents. So there's not even much data in terms of personally identifying or grades or anything like that. And yeah, we just make sure that we conform to what those policies are about. Keeping your data private, not selling it, and making sure that the data streams stay encrypted on our servers.
All right. So I don't see any raised hands, but we do have time. If anyone out there has a specific question and you'd like to click the little raise hand button, we'd be happy to hand the microphone over to you and let you ask your question.
Meanwhile, I'll point out these progress bars. So I mentioned these vertical progress bars that are on each tile. That indicates student progress. The horizontal green progress bars are reminders to yourself of which goals you've logged and which students for whom you've logged more or less of their goals. So like in the upper right, it says you've logged 4 out of 14 goals this week. And If I add this one here, say no, but that's going to go up to 5 out of 14, right? So that slider in the upper right just went up a little bit. And also the slider went up for this particular student, whereas this slider down here for Albert Einstein, there's only one goal logged. If I add another one, that's going to slide for that student. And so then even as I scroll up and down on this left navigation panel, I can see where I need to spend my time. And in the upper right for any given goal or given student, I see how I'm doing. Right, so then there's a master slider up at the upper left under your students, and that gives you an indication across all of your students. Some people have a very large caseload. I don't know how you do it. So we've surveyed many times to see what caseload numbers are, and it's wild how high it could be. I mean, even in self-contained. And I don't know, but one way or another, you can keep track of your progress. Sorry, Jim?
Oh, so sorry to interrupt. We have a few hands raised, and I wanted to make sure we got to them. So first we have Chisara. I'm gonna open it up for you. And we'll just need to unmute now that we've enabled you.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so my question is, how soon can the fastIEP be available on a mobile phone, and iPad? Because very often in the classroom, you may not have the time to access your laptop or sit for long on your laptop. But if it's available on a mobile phone and so on, it makes life a lot easier.
Thank you for the question, and I'm glad to know that that's your use case, because that real time in the classroom work is what I really designed this for. So right now, it already works on iPad. You don't even have to download it as an app in the App Store, because it will work in the browser on an iPad or any other tablet, an Android tablet or an iPad. That'll work for you. You can just prop that up. You know, they have those little easels for it. You could even glue it to a wall. And that's great. For mobile phone, that's going to be later in the fall that we'll have a different version, because its phone screen is so small, you can't see all these goals at once. So it'll be like choose the student first and then choose the goals. So that's coming out in a few months. But for iPad, it's already out. You just use it on your iPad and lo and behold, it's going to work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for the question. Next, we have Sophia. I'm going to click here. All right. You're on the air, Sophia.
Hi, I was looking for an example. So I was using a student and started inputting some goals. And the goal that I have for this student is that they go from this many correct words per minute at a level to this many words correct per minute at another level. And I'm not sure how that works in the formatting that I'm given.
Understood. Thank you very much for indicating that. So some goals have essentially more than 2 criteria. You know, there's the 4 out of 5 and this and that, but then there's things like words per minute. And what you can, some things where it's like a number of questions you have to get right in a multiple choice or something like that, then you just log each question. So if it's you have to get 8 out of 10, actual 10 questions, each question becomes an event. So it's not your question right now, but so many other people may have goals like that. Now for the words per minute, that's where you might use objectives really as benchmarks to get them there. So you say, for instance, if I'm trying to get to 20 words per minute, I do a 5 and a 10 and a 15 and a 20. And at each time I'm judging. So now on benchmark for 5, it kind of did or didn't happen that time. And I got there. And then once I get there, now I've completed that one. So now I move on against the 10 and the 15, and then I eventually get to, I do or don't get to my 20 words per minute. So for each observation, each episode, I'm judging against that threshold. You have to measure the words per minute, but presumably you can, and then you enter it into the system that way. So it's a little bit of a workaround just for those types of goals. Tell me if that made sense.
I'm not sure. Well, because I guess my specific question is about the threshold per observation. So if what would be the kernel, and then what would be the threshold, and then what would be the observation? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like my goal that I have in IEP Online is that they go from, 67 words per minute at a second grade level to 115 words per minute at a third grade level. So I'm trying to figure out the threshold. I'm not checking the percentage of words that they get. So then I would think that it was X out of Y, but then I don't know what the what out of what is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. It does. Those ones, it's the words per minute ones that actually, funny enough, several people have asked. Almost all goals fit into this rubric very well, but those ones are kind of different from the pattern of IEP goals in general. And because it doesn't conform in some sense to the SMART, that you don't have one thing that you're measuring. You're not measuring the words per minute, you're measuring whether they got to that level. But again, what I would do is you have over here with your observations, it is whatever it is in the goal, like is that 3 out of 4 observations overall for that. But then it's in the threshold. And I think that's where you're going to use 100% accuracy. But it's in the goal kernel that you put for instance, 67 words at second grade, and then, 80 words at second grade level, and then at third grade level, and then 100 words per minute at third grade level. So those would be 4 stages you're trying to get to, and
okay.
keep it at 100% accuracy. And so then when you're saying yes, no to that, you're saying yes or no, did I get at that time, at that observation, to 67 words per minute or 80 words per minute, right? And you'll just have to keep in track the second grade versus third level. You see, that's like a 4th criterion there. Just, you'll know that that's what you're trying to get to, because that's built into the kernel for that objective. So I would be,
okay,
yeah, adding objectives here. And I'll do that. It's going to bark at me because I'm doing that to an existing goal. And yeah, so then this one would be yada, 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 67. And then this one like 80. And then this is 80 at third grade and 100 at third grade. And you understand that I'd be putting in the rest of goal kernel there, but those are the relevant differences amongst them. I'd keep this at 100%. This is one way of doing it. We can come back to you offline, and there's another way of doing it. And then you'd be judging yes, no, each time, each observation based on that.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Great. We have one more person with their hand raised. I wanted to just quickly jump in. There were a few people asked about is fastIEP available in other countries? And the answer is we're available in a few of the other countries right now. If you go to the sign up page, and I'll put it in the chat again, and you get a message that says it's not available in your country, there's a form you can fill out to request that. And we usually respond to those requests within a day or so. Yeah, next we have Nancy. You are on the air.
So Nancy, you might have to manually unmute yourself.
Oh no, she's still muted. Nancy Brecht. Ah, there you go. You're unmuted.
There you are. While we're waiting there, so with other countries, yeah, we do have that form. We've been surprised. I designed it for the US. by now we have 20, maybe 25 countries where someone has asked, can you please allow it in my country? And that keeps happening every few days, really. That's quite exciting. Yeah, Nancy, we're not sure, we can't hear you yet. You could put it into the Q&A as well if we can't hear you.
Yeah, maybe Nancy, you can put your question in the chat. In the meantime, we did have another question from the chat, which is, as a neuroscientist, how do you as a researcher plan to use data on your end?
Yeah, wonderful. So anonymized data, first of all, but we believe that this will shorten the time it takes for students to achieve their goals. And we've seen some data to that effect. So we want to show the time course to completion of goals and a correlation with the engagement of a teacher in fastIEP system. So we can see that with just sort of the one-sided study, which is you watch as in aggregate, students start marching towards their goals compared to how many events are being logged across, say, thousands of students. And then we might later, since I am a neuroscientist, we might try to do two-sided studies with a control group. And that's when we would reach out, say, to 1,000 teachers and say, do you want to be part of the study? That'll come in the future. And what that would mean is if they're going to have some students on fastIEP and some students, they're recording data in another way, if they're just doing that naturally or they want to test that out, then we see, do we see greater progress in the fastIEP group, right? Because this is not just a data collection tool. We know that the IDEA is based on a simple principle of what you measure, you can improve. And a judicious goal toward which we march steadily is one of the most impactful things for any type of habit formation, behavior change, or instruction. So we believe that we can show accelerated progress, but that will be an empirical question that we will judge from the control group to a group using fastIEP. That's one of the types of research questions that we have, or I have.
Let me just jump in there. There was a question, and I know we received it 2 or 3 times. And that is, if you sign up for the trial and you start entering your student data, when your trial expires and you sign up for the paid plan, will you lose any of that data? And I'll just answer it. The answer is no, you won't lose any of your data. All that data is retained when you transition from the trial to the paid plan.
Absolutely.
And we are coming up on 6 o'clock.
We are. So let me thank everyone. We could stay, anyone who wants to stay. That's probably what you're going to say. Sorry to cut you off, Jim. Feel free to stay, anyone of the panelists or attendees who wants. But thank you again. Thank you, teachers out there, helping, assisting, empowering our students who have special, different kinds of minds and brains, who really are as deserving as anyone or more, and sometimes get left behind. You're their fierce advocate. You're the one bringing them forward. Our job is to make your job easier and more focused on the instruction and the human rapport, and less on the report. Actually, I kind of like that. More with the rapport and less with the reporting. So anyway, thank you. Anyone who does want to stay, I'm here. But thank you, and we've now officially ended on time. And anything else is bonus.
And we will have we'll be sending out a link with the recorded video from this session, most likely tomorrow or the next day. So don't worry about that. If you want to watch it again or share it with any of your colleagues, we'll be doing that. And I think we still have Richard, maybe Richard Scott, if you'd like to say a few words. Or
I also see, wow, we still have so many participants.
He just left.
He just left, yeah, but wow, we have a very large number of participants still here, please feel free to ask questions, or, you know, we can just keep sharing and touring around the interface. There are always more things. You know, up in this upper right corner is a menu with various options. That's where you can share with the para. I didn't show that earlier. I just type in a name. Right, so, and then I start putting in an email address. Well, there's some pre-stored there, and I can choose which students I want to share, and I just click share, and that's it. That generates an email. So this is saying that para has already been entered in the system, yeah, because I used an existing email address. But yeah, so that would generate an email to that person. The person says yes, and now that person can log into your account, but can't delete any of the things like students. They can just add data points. Great, so that's one element in the menu. And really hope you guys are signing up out there. Anyone who's still with us, thank you for your attention and interest. I'll assume you are very interested. So if you didn't get a chance, now's that great time to go to fastIEP, one word, fastiep.com/NASET, NASET. And you'll get the 45 days or the extended beyond your school start date, 45 days version to play around, hopefully to love it, to get excited for yet new features coming soon. By the way, we make it easy now to enter a lot of goals at once, but one of the features coming soon is to enter all your students very easily. It looks like a spreadsheet inside the software, and you can just put them all in. For
And
someone with 10 students, it's not that hard, but if you have 100 students, some people do, that makes it easier.
sorry, we did have one question, and I'll just address it. There's a question: can we share with gen ed teachers or homeroom teachers? Yes, I mean, we use the term paraprofessional in that screen that you saw, but of course you can do the same thing with any other teacher on the team who you want to input the data for you.
Yep, and that sharing, they'll see your students. I just get excited about all the features I'm always designing here because I'm the designer. So there's even a nuanced version of that coming where you can share just 2 students with this gen ed teacher and a different 2 students with that gen ed teacher, and an SLP might have your students and 5 other classrooms teach students. So that kind of many-to-many sharing will come soon. But for right now, for all intents and purposes, it's the same. If you have a co-teacher or a para or gen ed teacher, you just use that sharing module, and you can add one, you can add more than one. So that's exciting. Share the burden, and maybe share a glass of wine at the end of the day because you'll have more time.
We have another hand up. Carol Kutcher, you are on the air.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you.
Perfect.
Sweet. Okay, I have a very practical question. I went in and I signed up, and I was working to enter. I entered one fictitious student of my own, and I was working to add the first goal. And so I hit the select bar and got the drop down menu, and I chose something on the left and something on the right. Now I cannot scroll. I can't move that entire box up so that I can, there must be, is there
Is there a way to do
an
that?
enter button or something?
I think what's happening is your screen vertically is a lot shorter than it is wide. So one thing you can do is either try to zoom out in your browser, like go to 80%, if you know how to do that. Also, you
Okay.
can actually drag the side of your browser inward. So now it's kind of as narrow as it is short, and that will trigger the software to go to a smaller version. And that should probably bring that menu back. If not, you happen to have a screen that's exactly configured to not show the bottom of that screen.
Yeah.
So tell me if that works, actually narrowing your browser.
I minimized, well, let's see, I just did the minimize window and then it gave me a warning about being on a mobile phone, but I'll try the percentage next and see if that works.
Right. And minimize, that'll go too small. So try,
Yeah, right.
now drag it again so that it's like 60% of your screen, but especially scrunch it in.
Yeah,
And
it'll just take me a hot minute to.
got it.
I've got you open and this open, and so I'll play around with that. But when I get that far, I'm assuming there's a enter button or something that starts generating that goal. Then
Yeah, that's the thing. You're just missing a button at the bottom that's like off
okay,
the bottom of the screen there.
okay.
And you'll say, okay, it uses that category. Yeah.
Do you think I would be better off? So I'm a student services coordinator. So I wanted to, initially, I was going to put some information in to prepare for my team. But now I'm thinking if I do that, that's going to start my 45 days, right? Should I just wait until the date that my staff comes in to start my 45 days?
Start your 45 days and we will extend it on the back end so it actually goes to 45 days after your start date.
Okay, I just wanted to have some things prepared to show them. I'm excited about this, but wanted to have some examples inputted to run them through.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
When do they start, by the way?
Pardon?
When does your district start?
Oh, well, teachers will come back in a week and then we will start the day after Labor Day.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, even the 45 days would even cover you there, but we'll extend it further. Make sure that
perfect.
you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And this brings up a good point. If you encounter any problems at all while you're using fastIEP, you just send an email to support@fastiep.com. There's also a link to do that from within the app itself. And we're even happy to set up a Zoom call with you to walk you through any problems you might have.
Nice.
All right. I think that's all the questions that we had. Yeah, we're just coming up on 10 minutes over. We're happy to stay. Is there anything else you want to address, Dr. C?
Well, thank you. And yeah, I just see there's so many participants still with us. Thank you for your time and attention. Please spread the word. I guess I would say this is something that comes from our heart and our brains. And we're here, we will be here for the duration. We thrive on your input and we thrive on you spreading the word to your colleagues so that they come in and they benefit and they tell their districts and we all benefit collectively. And this is an important time. Remember, we're training the future leaders and the future followers and the future everyone that comprises society, and people who have, again, slightly different neural configuration than the normative, deserve all of our attention and care, and will go on to do great things. And our goal is to make that easier, where you see that, if you see that, you believe that, you really buy into fastIEP, every teacher you know, every special educator may benefit. So please spread the word. Give them the link to this webinar, or of course to that website /NASET, or just fastIEP.com. And they will be part of our family, as you hopefully are already now who are listening. So thank you. Thank you, Jim. You really, as always, Chief Operating Officer, you operated this perfectly. I'm pleased to be here. Hey, I just worked.
Yeah,
right.
thank you everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.